All right, all right. Joining me today is Lorenzo Banks, a local attorney of Oklahoma City, a partner in Banks and Gillette, a lawyer specializing in criminal defense work, family law, and personal injury. He's also an adjunct law professor at OCU, community leader, and organizer. Man, this episode I've been waiting for a while. The pros and cons of law school. Um, let's jump right into it. One thing
Got
good
you.
going on right now. One thing
Yes,
positive.
sir. Yeah. No. First of all, thank you for having me. Hang on, let me turn that phone off.
Yeah, of course.
So thank you so much for having me. So the question is what's something good, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I would say one of the best things going on for me right now is that I am. Notice I said I'm a community leader and organizer. I am a lead attorney for an initiative with the Urban League of Greater Oklahoma City to expunge sealed people's criminal records for free. And I am grateful that I have gotten a heck of a lot of help, volunteer help from other lawyers and law firms in the community to help us get this done. Ultimately, we're doing stuff that is great for people, which is ultimately great for the community as a whole. And so I'm so grateful to have gotten extra help that I did not expect I would get.
One thing I'm learning is to keep balance. And so
Yeah,
we talked about the good, the positive thing going on. Let's keep that balance. What's more negative or quote unquote bad
Ooh,
thing going on?
I
Yeah,
tell
yeah,
you, I tell you, your boy's a little sleepy, right? Your boy's a little sleepy. No rest for the weary, right?
I got you.
But that is a part of leadership, right? You come in first and you leave last, and
Right.
so that's you typically leave tired, and that's just part of the game, right? But somebody has to lead. That's why there are so few leaders and mostly followers, because it takes a special person to lead and to deal with the responsibility of leadership.
Mm, and there we go. Um, Here's something I really want to know, and I'm sure other people are curious about too. What does
Mhm.
it mean to being a lawyer or an attorney? What does it entail?
Yeah. So, all right, cue, cue the organ music and go ahead and
You,
pass the bucket, right? Go ahead and pass that offering bucket because I'm finna go into sermon mode,
mm,
right? Being an attorney is it is so honorable, assuming that you do it right. And the and why do I say that? Because what more honoring thing is it for you to be bestowed a certain power that allows you to advocate and speak upon behalf of others, right? We are talking about a profession that is rooted in the idea of responsibility. And to do this profession well, you have to be a responsible person. So if you get deemed to be worthy of donning a bar card, of being an attorney, man, how honoring is that you get to stand up for the rights and for the position of other people who in normal circumstances would not be able to stand and speak for themselves. uh, to me, it is much more than a profession. It is so much more. It is very much a calling, much like it is to be a man or a woman of the cloth, to be a minister. I feel the same way. If you are going to be a lawyer, you have to be a responsible person and to take care of the people around you because they can't take care of themselves.
mm. Um, no, me, I'm a paralegal,
Okay.
and I want you to differentiate for the people who might not understand in totality. What is the biggest difference between a lawyer and a paralegal? What's that
Yeah.
distinguish?
Yeah, and so oftentimes, and let me just be real, I got a lawyer, excuse me, I have a paralegal that works for me, right? And paralegals are amazing individuals in that they help to assist lawyers. It's just that the main difference in between a lawyer and a paralegal is that typically the paralegal and the lawyer know the same amount of law. They know the same thing about, they know the same amount of knowledge when it comes to procedural things, right? To get stuff in and out of the courthouse. They
Yeah.
know, typically they know the same thing. The main difference is that typically we lawyers go to school for a little bit longer. We go to school for 3 years, and then we get a professional license that allows us under the law to be able to give legal advice. Whereas a paralegal does not have the authority to do that, right? They are not licensed to give any type of legal advice. even though they know the same thing, much like a doctor and a nurse, they may know the exact amount of medical knowledge. However, the doctor has procured a license that allows them to give certain recommendations and certain mandates for their patient, whereas the nurse does not necessarily have that license, even though they have the exact same amount of knowledge base. Same thing for lawyers and paralegals.
Okay, thank you for that.
Mhm.
What's some? Give us the. I know you said that you be first in, last out, exhausted. Kind of
Yeah.
walk us through a day to day that people would know beforehand. Some things you can give them beforehand when it comes to the field of law and your day to day activities.
Yeah. So when you get into this, it also very much depends on what type of law you go into, right? And so sometimes, if it's a, depending upon what type of field of law, you may not deal with a whole lot of people. You may end up finding yourself in yeah, you may find yourself mostly dealing with being in front of spreadsheets or in front of a computer, right? But for me, for my type of law, I find myself getting up very early, and when you get up early, it is locked and loaded all day. You are running, but it's because I do a type of law where I am in and out of courtrooms most of the day, on the phone, answering questions to clients, directing clients as to what they need to do, and dealing with my paralegal and opposing counsel on cases where I'm saying, hey, we need to get these hey, we need to get these documents over to this office. We need to make sure that we set this person for a deposition. And so this is what, and then of course, in between those things, I find myself in front of a judge making some type of argument. And so these are the types of things that, and just giving you a day to day, 8 a.m., that's a late day. But let's just say 8 a.m., right? You're getting down there. That's late. Yeah. If you're getting up at 8, that's a late day, sis. That's a late day, bro. But 8 a.m. you're in court, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and depends upon the judge, depends upon the courthouse. On the way there, you are answering phone calls. When you get there, you argue in front of judge, you have your hearing or hearings, do what you got to do, and then you make some more phone calls on the way to your next location. Again, this is my particular field of law. It is not necessarily every type of law, but it's quite common for this profession.
So what I'm getting is it's strenuous. It's an investment from A to Z every day, and you know the responsibility it entails. Why? Like, what
Yeah,
was the moment where you knew that this is for me, and what kept you pushing forward through the harder, more stressful days?
man, you are giving me some good ones. Okay, so so what got me going, or what kind of said that this was for me, is that when I went through my own issue, before I was a lawyer, I was a mathematician. I was trained in how to do fancy smancy math, right? And I did not like lawyers. I ended up having to go through my own lawsuit. I got sued, long story, but I got sued on a debt that legally I did not owe, and I could not afford an attorney. I ended up having to study day and night to figure this out as a mathematician. How in the world do I fight this law firm that is suing me for a debt that legally I do not owe? Uh, at the end of it all, I went through everything, and sure enough, I won. Got the other side to dismiss that case. And so to answer your question, I got to watch lawyers, right? I'm a trial lawyer. I'm going to bring it all back full circle. I tell you that story because it was that moment that kept me pressing. It made me recognize that just how oftentimes people will find themselves in a courtroom that have no business being there. And
Mm.
but for thank goodness that I was savvy enough to figure that out. But the majority of people will not be able to figure that out on their own. And so I said that I always wanted to make sure that I was available to help people, to help people to, again, that motif, you guys are going to hear this theme here, right? This whole idea of standing for people who can't stand for themselves, speaking on behalf of others who don't know how to defend themselves. They know they need to be defended, but they don't know how. This is what kept me going because I knew what it felt like. I've experienced it firsthand. When you find yourself within a courtroom and you are unrightfully there,
Mhm.
and you need somebody to advocate for you. I wanted to be that advocate for people. And 11 years later, thank God I'm still here advocating on people's behalves.
All right. All right. What's some things you've learned as you reflect and retrospectively, some things you've learned during this journey?
Yeah, yeah. So one of the things that I've learned, and I think all lawyers, if they're honest people and if they are people with a heart, right, at some point during your profession, you lose faith in humanity. You do.
Oh,
Because
okay.
you
Wow.
can see, yeah, you learn, you lose at least for a little while. You do. And I think if you don't come to that moment where you lose all faith in humanity, because I know I did, right? I think that means you're not human. There's something wrong with you, right? Because you should get to a place where you look and see, oh my goodness, wow, this is what humans do to one another under the guise of, well, it's legal, so it's it's legal, so it's ethical, right? And that whole that age old adage of just because you can don't mean you should. All right, I you get to see that as a lawyer. Goodness, yes, you have the authority, the power, the ability to do these things to another human, but why would you do that? I have learned that there's so much evil out there, and there's a need for good people to stand against evil. But in the same vein, we're going back to that balance thing. Every time I have gotten to a place, especially when I was earlier in my career, I was so just defeated because I'm saying to myself, "Goodness, this is what mankind is. We are awful to one another." But just as I'm about to lose all hope, I see greatness. I see goodness in the community.
Mm,
Oftentimes, lawyers and judges standing up and saying, hey, we're going to do this because this is for the community. This is for people. We're going to do the right thing. Yeah, we could do this, but we're going to do this because it's better for this person. And it's an instant refreshing for me, right? And
mm,
it's because of that. Now, as I'm a bit more of a senior lawyer, God, I'm the old guy in the room, right? I'm the old lawyer. I'm 11 years old, right? Now I've learned to hang on to those good moments, hang on to those, because it's going to be a lot of evil that you could see and hang on to. But I
mm,
focus on that good. And man, it reminds me that we as humans are not a lost cause, and that there are great people out there. And the only way we can continue to have a great community is if good people remain in the fight. And so it's what keeps me going to this day.
mm. Give some advice to the pre-law student or the newly undergrad or even the child who says, you know what, this is something I want to do. This is
Yeah.
something that I want to dedicate myself toward. What would
Yeah.
you tell them something they wouldn't see coming until they're in it?
Yeah. 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 So, first things first, take care of your grades. I know no one wants to hear that because everyone says that, oh, yeah, take care of your grades, make good grades, study hard. I'm not necessarily one of those guys promoting this idea of study hard and that's the only way you can succeed. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is do what you can do to legally and ethically keep your grades up, because there's nothing worse than people telling me, Lorenzo, it has been my dream to go to law school and it's been my dream to be a lawyer. And I say, great, let me see what I can do to help you. And I look and I see, good, you was hanging out in college, weren't you? Right. And it's not one of those things if you had a learning disability or you had a no, sis, bro, you were just chilling. You was kicking it. Right. And so now you're asking me to bend over backwards and write the world's greatest letter of recommendation to get past your very low grades because you spent more time at the Kappa party than you did in the law library or in the library in general. Right. Nothing wrong. Hang on. Wait a minute. My brother's a Kappa Psi Phi. Please hold on. Oh, hold on. Hang on. Hang on. Uh, that is not a shot at you all. I love y'all. Y'all my people. But right. You know, at the end of the day, when you find yourself more so at parties than studying, and now your grades reflected, it's really hard to make up for that in the back end now that you're trying to apply for law school and become this fantastic, amazing lawyer that I know you can be, but your grades are stopping you from being there. So I'm telling you now, if the goal or the idea, the dream is to be a lawyer, know that, hang out, enjoy the college experience, please get out, enjoy each other, spend time being young, but at the same time know that there's a purpose that is greater than the 4 to 5 years that you're going to spend in undergrad. You're pressing forward to be a lawyer. Keep those grades intact because they will block you. They really
Mm.
will. I've seen it.
Uh, what's some ways they can stay disciplined with that
Yeah.
end goal in mind?
Yeah. So one of the things that I say is, I know you're not going to like this. I remember because I used to be 20 many moons ago. Right. But one of the best things for discipline is, I say, is practice getting up early.
Mm.
If you can dedicate yourself to get up early, and you don't have to get up and read, 48 Rules of Power, and yeah, it's a great book, but you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to necessarily get up and do anything incredibly intellectual in the early morning. But what it does is it teaches you discipline. If you can dedicate yourself to get up early in the morning and read, or just walk around, make your coffee, go to the gym, whatever it is that you do, but the concept of getting up early, man, if you can dedicate yourself to getting up early against uh, the one's proclivity of sleep, um, certainly you can have the same discipline when it comes to sticking to a very rigorous curriculum that law school usually entails.
I want to dive into kind of like the pros and cons of the
Yeah.
the field you're in when it comes to
Mhm.
one's own life work life balance, when it comes to the stress, as well as the more positive things of, this is my, social economic status, this is where I am in society, this is the
Yeah.
responsibility I have, and the example I'm able to lead by. When that next generation does see me as that example, um
Yeah.
give us some cons, give us some negatives
Yeah.
about.
So here's some pros, at least for my field of law. But this is common amongst lawyers. For every job, for everything, no matter how wonderful and noble the profession may be, they come with some cons. One of the cons for us as lawyers is that oftentimes we deal with anxiety, only because we have a profession where most of the time, if your phone is ringing, someone is on the other end of that phone presenting you with a problem, and then they are looking to you to fix that problem, because lawyers are excellent problem solvers. That's what we do. Right. That's why lawyers are always in the forefront. You'll always see that there's a board on some company. Who do they got? Well, we've got her, she's a lawyer. We've got him, he's a lawyer. Why are they here? This is a tech company. Why are they here? This is a university. Why are they here? What does this lawyer know about these particular issues? What do they know? What we do know is that lawyer is a trained professional in solving the problem. Right. And so because of that, people will look to you as a lawyer to solve the problem. That being said, there is a bit of anxiety that comes along with that, because you are constantly in a state of conflict. People are always calling you to fix their problems, to come in and save the day. Um, so yeah, and so you will have those moments where you wake up where your brain won't let you sleep, because your brain is thinking about, oh, did I file this? Did I send that off? And I need to send this to the other side, and I need to do. That's one of the downsides. That certainly is, and I think any lawyer that is honest would tell you that they deal with that. Most of us who are, especially in litigation, deal with that. Um, but one of the, and now hang on, I was about to jump the gun here, because you did say cons, but also some of the positives.
That's right.
Okay, yes. So the positive being that, look at the way that you are able to impact change. Look at you. Look at how you can use the gifts that have been bestowed upon you by a bar association, wherever you get your law license, where you can use that for good in the community, and help to set not only potentially individuals, of course, yes, right, in individual cases, but to make law through your work that ends up becoming the law of the land of wherever you live, that could be for the benefit of everyone who lives in that land. Oh, you know what? Based on Lorenzo's case and this fight that he did, it is now the commonplace. It is now the common law for this jurisdiction, that whatever that may be. And hopefully it's good for people, good for the community at large. Man, there's nothing better than that. You're helping. You have a legitimate first hand, excuse me, front yard, 50-yard line seat to the courthouse, which is oftentimes the place that dictates what type of society that we're going to live in. It's our rule of law and how we interpret those laws. How amazing. And quite the responsibility. And you get a profession that not only can it be lucrative, right? You can make a little bit of money doing this, not gonna lie. It'll be some stress, but you can make some money doing this. But aside from being able to make some pretty good money, you're also able to help, and you're also able to positively affect the community that you live in. Yeah, I think that's priceless.
Hmm. What I would like to do now is the high school junior, high school sophomore. They say, you know what? This is what I'm setting out to do. I do
Hmm.
my research on the internet. I see a lot of contradicting information.
Yeah.
You've been there, you've done it. What do I need to do from step one to step whatever the end is to
Mhm.
not be where you are, be somewhere similar so I can
Yeah.
cross that off my bucket list and be more successful for my community?
Yeah. So okay. So we got my I got my high school junior, right? First things first, ma'am, sir, here's what I need you to do. First of all, let's go ahead and start training your brain. This right here is much like the biceps, the triceps, the pecs that you have. They get stronger and better the more that you use them, the more that you exercise them, the more that you train them. And so if we train our bodies for athletics, we should certainly train our minds for the classroom in similar fashion. So I encourage you, for my brothers and my sisters out there who are juniors in high school, seniors in high school, and you're thinking about this, let's get used to reading, and not just reading, comic books. I'm a comic book nerd, so I, I like comic books, right? But even I'm going to challenge you to do more than that. I need you to read higher level things, right? Pick up the Wall Street Journal and practice reading the Wall Street Journal, right? Read some more uh, a bit more deeper content reading material, and keep that at a constant in your life as you move toward. It doesn't have to be law based. It just needs to be deeper content, because it allows you to strengthen here your reading comprehension. Then you're going to know that you're going into college. When you go into college, because you go to become a lawyer, you got to go to undergraduate college first, right? So you know that you're going to go to college. You go in knowing that no matter what major that you pick, you're going to go in and you're going to pick a major that you are interested in, so that you can do well in the classes that are associated with that major, so you can have good grades. Because again, that goes back to what I was saying earlier. You got to have good grades to be a lawyer, to try to get into law school, right? And then so we've got all right, we're reading at higher level, and then we get to college and we're making sure that we've got a major that we are interested in, so we can get good grades in. The last thing I would say is trying to find some lawyer who you can at least latch on to as a mentor, whether he or she takes you around with them every day or often, or you guys talk about you come and work in their office, whatever the case may be. Having somebody in this profession so that they can be a guide to you a guide to you on your journey to becoming a lawyer. Trust me, I've done it a million times for people throughout my 11 years of practicing law. And once you become a lawyer, you're going to do the same thing. So the thing is I challenge you to go and find somebody who you can attach to, who is willing to teach you, or at least show you this, open this door up into this world that we know as the legal profession.
So they're there, they have their undergrads, they have the grades. They say,
Uh-huh.
I graduate next semester, I
All
finished
right.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
N- They say something about an LSAT.
Yes. Yes.
What's going on?
Oh, okay. So that's a good leading question. That's well done. Yes. So let's talk about that LSAT. So, that LSAT is typically, for the overwhelming majority of law schools in the country, it is the test that they use. It's an incoming test that they use to decide whether or not you should gain admission to each of the law schools that you apply to. Each law school has their own set of standards, right? Each law school say, hey, don't even call us unless you have over a 154 on this LSAT. Other law schools say, hey, our minimum to come in is a 148 to get into our law school. Or other law schools may say, we don't have a set minimum. We like to look at people holistically, but you want to get as high as possible, because the higher your scores are, the better chance for you getting a scholarship to go to law school or to get admitted in the first place. And so I always tell people that it's really hard to go back. If you were kind of, remember we were talking about, hey, uh, 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 remember we were talking about that some folks who spent a little bit more time at the uh, Kappa party as opposed to the a
Library.
classroom or in the library. Yeah.
Hmm.
So same thing here, right? You want to make sure that same thing here is that you've got a chance to put your best foot forward. It's real hard to go back and fix those grades, right? That's gone. You can't fix them now, right? It's too late in the game if now you're a senior. It's late. But what you can control is your ability or what your performance on that LSAT, because that is a very strong indicator for how well you will do in law school, at least according to the folks who are on admissions councils or on admissions staff throughout the country at law schools. So you want to study for that incredibly hard. If you can't afford to take a LSAT prep course, do so. I know that there are opportunities for people to um, get scholarships for some of those LSAT prep courses. If you can, I suggest you do it, because how well you do on that test can ultimately not only get you in the law school, but get you in the law school for free, if not mostly free, right? So that is huge. That test is going to be your biggest hurdle into law school. And so I tell people to prepare for that like it's the fight of your life.
Hmm. So we have the grades, we have the LSAT. I know you mentioned the letter of recommendation. How
Yeah.
many on average would you have them start to organize and accumulate?
I would always tell people do two. You need to
Okay.
get at least two. I always tell people to make sure one of them is somebody who knows you on an academic place, such as um, uh, your professor, right? Your professor from college. Going back to high school, I mean, I guess you can do that, but it's usually so many years down the road. And it was like you were a child in high school. I'm sure you were a great student, but we want to know what you were like in the classroom as an adult. Most law schools, I believe, not speaking for all 200 some odd law schools in the country, but most law schools prefer to see about somebody who knows you as an adult in the classroom and how well you conducted yourself as an adult student, right? Usually it's one of your college professors. That's what I always suggest. The other one would be make sure that it needs to be from somebody. That letter of recommendation shouldn't be just from, well, yeah, you know, you get this letter in the letter recommendation, and it's, well, yes, you know, Cheryl Anderson worked for me at the Capitol for 3 weeks. She was fantastic. Let her into law school. And so what people think is that I've got this letter of recommendation from this big time senator or this big time representative, and they're putting me and they're sending this to the law school. Oh, surely I'm a shoe in. Well, that senator, that representative, you only work for them for 3 weeks as a page. They don't really know you, right? You want to pick somebody who truly has who truly has a good um, idea of who you are as a person, your work ethic, whatever that may be, and that needs to be apparent from the letter itself. Right? When admissions officials read your letter saying that it's only they were 2 weeks at the Capitol and I liked them, they were really cool, we enjoyed hanging out with her at the party. That's great, but what does this person know about you other than their big fancy title and you worked for them for a couple of weeks? Make sure it's somebody that knows you well.
Okay. I want to sum it all up. So essentially, once you figure out this is what you want to do, or just in general, it's time to train the muscle that we have in the brain to dive into more intellectual literacy, to foster those relationships that you come across when it comes to teachers and mentors that you have, and be intentional and tell them what you aim to do, and see how they can help you or introduce you to. Be intentional with the grades, time management. Maybe if there's 10 parties in total, maybe in college, maybe you attend three or two, and other time you dedicate that to something else. Um, Pick something you love in when you get to college. That
Mhm.
way, that extra energy it'll carry you through. Excuse me. To prepare for that LSAT as early as possible, and to be diligent with it, knowing that it is the gatekeeper, if you will.
Mhm.
and can determine how much financial assistance you receive.
Mhm.
So let me ask you this: we 20 years from now, 30 years from now, we have more lawyers in our community.
Mm.
They watch this, they watch other podcasts and other information online, and it helps them get to where they want to be. What do you think it'll do for the community with more lawyers that goes back to their community and assists with a hands-on approach?
Right. Lawyers were here at the outset. Lawyers were here at the birth of what we know as the United States, right? So many of the founding fathers were, in fact, legally trained. Now, was was the creation of this country created to include all people? That's debatable, right? But regardless of whatever the intentions were when we created this country, the bottom line is that when we created this country, it was centered around the rule of law. It was centered around that without laws, our society descends into chaos. So, with that being said, considering we are a country that is centered around law, then the people who are responsible for helping to make and enforce those laws and to interpret those laws, lawyers, judges, right? But typically starts with lawyers, right? Shouldn't the population of lawyers reflect the population of America in terms of a very rich and diverse melting pot of cultures, backgrounds, and creeds, so that the court system does not get stuck, or the legal system does not get stuck with one particular viewpoint? That viewpoints from all different varying views of socioeconomic status, race, background, color, creed, religion, sexual orientation, by putting more lawyers, more folks from all communities who have access to this knowledge and go into this profession, that this helps to ensure that our legal profession stays diverse, so that we have a court system, a legal system, a judicial system that caters to not just one particular demographic. Because we are not a country of one particular demographic. We're a country that prides ourselves supposedly on diversity. So that means our judicial system, that means our laws should be centered around diverse viewpoints. And so this changes the community, because you will have lawyers who now look like you, or look like, so you will have lawyers that look like somebody from your community representing your viewpoint, your perspective in front of a judge, right? Which ultimately can interpret, change laws such that we have a diverse viewpoint and these laws are enforced diversely in the community, so that it pertains to us all and not just one particular, so it benefits us all and not just one particular group, if that makes sense.
It does. You'll have people who uh, think think differently intentionally,
Right.
and with a lot of people that bring that together, you'll have more of a holistic approach than something regurgitated and copied because it's the precedent, new precedent to be set. Um, this is, and I have a question where
Yeah.
um, I address where we, as the African American Black community, get more organized. Before that one, and this is what I think. A lot of our issues in the African American community is with the criminal law, criminal justice.
Yeah.
What's a few tricks and tools people can use to prevent getting caught in that counterproductive interaction when it comes to in that regard?
Yeah. And so just the criminal justice system. Well, I think most of the time, one of the things that I didn't brag about or anything like that is that I go around the country giving a know your rights talk, right? The do's and don'ts of police interactions.
Yeah.
I've done this everywhere. I've done this coast to coast, right? Half the time, I am not. I don't. What I'm about to say is going to sound like I'm victim blaming. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. Right. Many of the state of criminal justice in America, especially when it comes to folks who are black and brown, tends to be skewed and not in our favor with the way we do things. But oftentimes, black and brown people could avoid the justice system completely had they known what their rights were in the first place. Again, I'm not blaming my brothers and sisters out there who have experienced some negative impact from the justice system. Not at all. That needs to change. But if we can avoid it all together, let's avoid it all together. And one of the things I teach when I'm out there on the road teaching this Know Your Rights talk is that, hey, it is incumbent upon you, ma'am, sir, to know this information, and to spread accurate information to other folks in your community, so that most of the time, if you knew that the officer had no business getting inside your car in the first place, whether you were guilty or not guilty, we wouldn't have much, we wouldn't have, at least in your particular instance, you would not be having an encounter with the justice system, because this would have went down the road, because you would have never had this encounter with the officer in the first place, because you knew what your rights were. You were able to shut this down. Oh, you knew that, okay, I do got to get out of the car when the officer tells me to get out of the car. Oh, that's not what they said on Facebook. I seen it on a meme on Facebook that I didn't have to get out, right? So listening to a whole bunch of non-lawyers put memes on Facebook, and that's where you get your legal information from. Come on, sis. Come on, bro. Call me, right? By knowing what your rights are, by knowing the law, it oftentimes keeps us out of the judicial system. Does the criminal justice system need revamping, change? Yes. But can we do our part to stay out of it by knowing what the law is? The answer is yes to that as well.
You said you want people to call you. Where can they reach you?
So they can reach me, man. Call me on my bat phone, right? I'm known as the superhero lawyer here in Oklahoma, right? And so you can call me on my bat phone, my cell phone, right? You can call me at 405-459-0529. But in addition to that, you can always reach me at my website. It's it's Banks Gillette, but it's bggokc.com. But as well as your boy is on Facebook, your boy is on Instagram. I'm the superhero lawyer. If you if you search superhero lawyer via Facebook or um, um, Instagram, or I think I'm on TikTok. I think I am on TikTok. I'm on Tiki Talkie, right? As I say to my girls, because I'm an old man. I don't know how to use this Tiki Talkie stuff, but I'm on TikTok as well. If you all are looking for me, it's easy. You Google your boy, Lorenzo Banks, lawyer. I'll pop up.
I love prevention, and
Yes,
so
sir.
when I'm talking to people without the community or to the youth, I tell them understand the terms, understand the difference between reasonable suspicion and probable
Hmm.
cause, and what's
Yeah.
associated with that.
Right.
And by them having it, what they're legally granted to do,
Yeah.
um, to really be intentional with what you say, and they're not your friend. And so, my recommendation to myself, because I'm not a
Mhm.
lawyer, you're the lawyer. My recommendation to myself and to my kids: don't have small conversation. So you know
Yeah.
what? I really don't want to have a conversation with you. Respectfully, you have a job to do, but
Mhm.
conversating with you is not in my best interest. And
Yeah.
so if it doesn't pertain to information needed to do your job that's in my best interest to give out, then I prefer to not talk about that. That's the biggest thing I tell people is to
Yes,
be
sir.
intentional with what you say, know the
Hmm.
terms and what's associated with, and then call people who are suitable to give legal advice, such as yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this brings me to the question that I'm starting to ask more and more guests
Okay.
when it pertains to the African American Black community.
Okay.
Uh, what do we need to do to be more organized, to be more intentional when it comes to each other's well-being and
Yeah.
progress?
Yeah. 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 So this is tough, right? Because it sounds like
Yeah,
it's it sounds like I'm scolding us, right? I'm not, but we got to talk about it, right?
let's talk
And
about it.
yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I think that we as Black people, we can do better. We can do better by just finding one. And I know this is going to sound like it's a broken record, brother, right? Because everybody says it. And I think oftentimes people say it, especially community leaders and things, because it's a scapegoat and it's quick to pass the buck and blame it on the people. But some stuff is rooted in truth. The first one is being vote. You have no idea.
Hmm.
You have no idea how often I get people who will complain about X, Y, and Z. And I said, brother, you are right. Did you vote for such and such? Oh no, I didn't do that. Really? Like, after you are the loudest person in this room, you are complaining about X, Y, and Z, and this is horrible. And so when it was time for the election and for the candidate that we said, for those of us who were involved in the community, okay, this woman, this man, they will do right on this issue that you're complaining about. Did you go to the polls and vote for her? No. Really?
Mhm.
So that's the first thing. The second thing is that, again, it kind of goes hand in hand. Black folks have to be, we at least, and I'm speaking as Black. I just so happen, I don't know if you all can tell from the camera, but I just so happen to be African American. And so one of the things that African Americans can do better, the second thing is that show up and participate in community organization. How often, again, it kind of goes back, how often is it I'm asking you to come to, there's an issue. There's an issue in the community. Guess what? The elected official doesn't know. Sometimes I didn't know that this was happening over here. And maybe I'm speaking out of a little bit of fear because one day I will run for office, right? And how I see my people do elected officials, and I say, hey, okay, well, did you write in? Man, and that elected official ain't nothing. They ain't doing nothing in this neighborhood. Well, did you write in and tell them about that issue? Well, no. Did you go to the town hall that I helped, your boy Lorenzo, I helped organize it, and say, hey, let's everybody come out, please. Like, it's on a night that everybody's mostly available. Please come out. Did you come to the town hall and say this particular issue that this person as an elected position should be taken care of? Well, no. Huh. Okay. Well, the re-election was last week. Did you go to the polls and vote for, because we asked this on the ballot? Did you go to? No, I didn't do that either. Okay, bro, sis, what you want me to do, right? I think if we can get folks in our community to participate, they'll complain when I talk to them. But when it's like, hey, come, I want you a part of this. Help me change this. And it's like pulling teeth to get them to come out on a Thursday night for an hour, right? After we get food and we get everyone there and there's press and everyone's there. We're here to talk about these issues. Let's see if we can fix them. But I can't get Black people to actually participate, other than the more senior crowd of African Americans, right? They're there, right? Big Mama and them, they're there. And that's great. We love Big Mama and them. But you are the leaders, millennials, right? You are the leaders, Generation Zers, right? We need you there. Where are you? And you're not there. So if we can get Black folks to vote and to participate, have an active voice where it matters, not just when we sitting around and we chilling on somebody's porch and we having a drink or two and talking about things. That's great. That's where these conversations start. But now it's time to put those conversations into a place where we can actually do something with the content of those conversations. So those are my two. Forgive me for making that longer than it should be. But hey, you asked a lawyer a very open-ended question, so you get what you get.
What do we do to get them out? Do we somehow make it cool through entertainment? Do we start them young, 5, 6, and 7, and explain the significance of it? What's some tools and strategies that some of us can implement to bring them?
Yeah, and I've said this for years. I like the entertainment. Awesome. I've done that. I've helped, but even still, sometimes that doesn't work, right? It's, oftentimes entertainment centered around positivity is not always well taken. Nobody wants to talk about these things, right? Now, if I bring in, if I bring in a local artist and it's all about, some music that doesn't have the best positive message, we can fill up. Such and such is coming to town. We can fill that up. But the moment that I say that, hey, I'm bringing this same artist, and by the way, I'm bringing them here for purposes of, this is a move the block party, and we're going to get people registered to vote. And this same guy They don't show up in the same place. I don't know what that is, right? So this is what I have succumbed. This is what I have kind of come to the conclusion of.
Okay.
This is not. This is not who I'm. I'm not aiming this toward anybody. So my brothers and sisters in the community who hear this, this is not a shot at you. But I do believe that what is the most prevalent, strong thing in any black community across the country is the black church. The black church or churches tend to be leaders in that community. And what pastor says, people do. The biggest thug then shot 4 5 people on Saturday and will be in church on Sunday, listening to pastor and following pastor's direction, advice, right? Spiritual leadership. What am I saying? I'm saying that I believe what we could utilize is the strength and the influence of the black church to where we from the pulpit on a Sunday, and quite possibly if we did it, especially in smaller communities, all on the same day, where these pastors are going to talk about, hey, this is why we're going to talk about this issue of our schools. This is why we're going to talk about this issue of whatever it may be. And it's Sunday, September 11th, right? But I'm doing this, every pastor or a large portion of pastors in this community on September 11th are preaching the same message. We're going to talk about this because it's such a stronghold in our community, and it's a positive stronghold in our community. I believe we could get this message out to the masses, and people would do it because people follow their pastors. Even if they don't follow a lot of stuff in life, black folks follow their pastors. Look at the potential impact we could have on the community to drive people to the polls or drive people to some other type of event or initiative for the sake of bettering the community if we got that message all at the same time from the pulpit. Just my thought.
Mm. So we come to the end, and I usually ask the guests, if you were dying tomorrow,
Yeah.
what would you want your dying words to be? I want you to
Oh,
talk to the people.
what would I want my last dying words to be? My last dying words is, I think a lot of the conflict that we have on this planet, and in particular in this country, is that people of all different walks of life and races, we tend to have these spats with one another because we focus on where we disagree. I wonder if we as humans came together and said, okay, I don't agree with you here. I don't agree with you here. I don't agree with you here. But ultimately, what are the things that I agree with you on? Let's start there. Could Republicans and Democrats come together and fix things if we stopped and said, hey, where do we agree? Could law enforcement and citizens come together, right? And figure out if we have some form and we figure out, okay, we don't agree with how you do things. I don't like how you police and I don't like how you conduct yourself as a citizen, but where do we agree? I encourage everybody, and I got 3 daughters. I encourage my daughters to, one, figure out a way to visualize or to see things from somebody's viewpoint, because it may change how you feel about something, right? See through their eyes. But that ultimately goes into, hey, where do we agree? Where is it that we can both say that this is important? And now that we both determine that this is important, how do we work together, even if we're enemies? How do we work together to achieve this important thing that apparently is going to benefit both of us, despite the fact that we are not the best of friends? There's a reason why, I'm not going to get too biblical, but at least within the biblical reference of whether you believe that the Bible is true or just a bunch of stories that are fable in nature, but they are there to teach a lesson. Doesn't matter, right? Regardless of which, the illustration that I give to you hopefully is accurate one. And with the Tower of Babel, when man was trying to build the Tower of Babel, that is the tower to get to heaven, God had to knock that down. All right. He knocked it down. Was it that he was angry? Quite possibly. Or was it that man had gotten on one accord in such a way that they were about to complete a task that was virtually impossible? The power of agreement. So much so that in that same story, not only does the tower get knocked down, but I'm gonna change all y'all's languages up, right? Because y'all were way too powerful on one accord, speaking the same language with one mindset and one goal in common. Oof, wow, right? It speaks to the nature, whether you find that to be a fictitious story or absolutely true, it matters not. The illustration is the same regardless of how you look at it. The power of mankind when we sit and say, where do we agree? And be on one accord on the thing that we agree on is limitless. I pray that humans on my deathbed, people around me make a decision to say, how do I move forward and to agree with my enemy on where we can agree and make this place a better place based upon our agreement.
What would I tell them? Listen to your elders. I mean, we have
Yeah.
somebody here who's accomplished. He's done what he set out to do, and he's a shining example of what is possible, regardless of what is propagated to you. And so I
Yeah.
would say just have people around you that you feel is doing better than you, or at the very least even. And then if you feel lower, then that's okay too. Just have that intention,
Mhm.
have that purpose, and use your time and energy and resources wisely to do something better for the ones after us. And with that, we thank you for joining us on Specificity.